Hey everybody, I'm Ben, and today we're going to be making this hanging wall shelf. This one in particular I made for a friend to hang in their bathroom, but you can make something just like this for anywhere in your house. You can find shelves like these online for over $100, but you can make one yourself for less than $20. I started off with just a picture that I had received from a friend. I knew I could reference the toilet paper and try and extrapolate the dimensions from there. I wanted to be able to fit at least 3 rolls across and have 3 shelves. Now I know different types of toilet paper will give you different sizes, so I wanted to make it bigger than I expected so there would be plenty of space. I rounded up on some of the measurements, but what I came up with was 3 shelves that would be 17 inches wide and 5.5 inches deep. And then the supports would be a 2x4 cut in half that would be 24 inches long. It was time to put down the toilet paper and start making some cuts. The first thing I wanted to do was measure out what one shelf would look like and make sure it lined up with the measurements I was making for the toilet paper. Next, I wanted the shelves to be a consistent width, so I set my table saw at 5.5 inches and ripped down the 1x12 common board. I measured off the 17 inches and chopped off all 3 shelves. Now my miter saw wasn't wide enough for these boards, but I could have also used the table saw for this. Then I moved on to cutting the 2x4 in half. You'll see in a moment that this probably was a little more difficult than I anticipated. The 2x4 started to close in on itself and was gripping the table saw. To avoid this, I would recommend cutting it down to 24 inches first before cutting it in half. For my cut though, I had a small piece of wood that I could wedge in the middle to give me just enough clearance. I took the most even sides of the 2x4 and cut it down to 24 inches. Once I laid it out, I wanted to see how everything would fit together. I would cut small rabbets in the supporting sides, so I needed to make sure the shelves would line up on both ends. The rabbets were only going to be about 1/4 inch deep, and I took it slow with the crosscut jig so the shelves would fit pretty snug. After a test fit, I had to figure out how to hold it all together, and wouldn't you know it, my biggest clamps were just barely too short. Yeah. I tried taping it instead, but eventually just moved on to drilling some pilot holes and screwing the shelves in place. Once I got the pilot holes in, I drilled out a slightly bigger area so the screws could sit flush on the edges. I screwed everything in slowly at first to make sure it fit the way that I wanted, and then went back and tightened everything up. It was looking good so far, so I sanded everything down so we wouldn't have any rough edges. Next, I moved on to the holes for the rope. I started with a small pilot hole about 1 inch from the top, and then went back and drilled a 3/8 inch hole. Now I've learned my lesson with stain. I was very careful to open it the right way and have plenty of space for error. After the stain was on, I sanded it down again just to take care of some of those raised areas. Now for the rope, I was able to find this twisted sisal rope at a local store for about $5, and it should be able to hold more than enough weight for the shelf. After fitting it through, I double knotted it and measured out about 30 inches from the end before tying it through the other side. Now, of course, you could adjust this part depending on how low you want the shelf to hang. To test it out, first I just hung it with a nail, and it held just fine. For the final installation though, I wanted something a little bit more secure. So I ended up using a drywall anchor and a screw and hung the rope over it for plenty of support. And it came out looking pretty awesome. I really hope you enjoyed this build. It was a lot of fun to make. Probably my favorite part was just taking a picture from a friend and using that to come up with the final design. That was actually really cool. I ended up liking this design so much, I'm gonna make another one just for myself. And like I said at the beginning, you could probably make something just like this for around $20. If you like this project, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, and please check out some of my other videos.